Minions have spawned.
Alright guys, what is up here, Ninja of the Rift? Today we'll be going over a Sion top guide. Yes, you heard that right, Sion top lane. This is a full guide for y'all. I'm going to show y'all wave tricks, how to trade here, pre-recording. So Gnosis, as you can see, he's way up to front. Gnosis is super weak in the early game, and you're fairly strong with Sion. You're not the strongest champ, but you're fairly strong. Here we're just bullying him. We're just gonna bully him. And look, ignite, hit him again, he's dead. Easy kill. I don't know what he was thinking there. I don't think he was thinking straight. Sion, the best thing you want to do in top lane is proxy waves, farm to kill units. You don't really want to be poking or trading too often. Depending on the matchup, you can, but you really want to be focused on killing those units, because you can poke and I guess trade with your abilities with Sion. You don't have to be right up in their face on auto attacks that much, unless you want to do extended damage. So yeah, so here we get our plant. We took 2 tower shots stupidly. We're gonna shield on his spirit fire so we can just stand in it, not have to reposition, and we can keep on using our Q. Here, he withers me, so I actually know that if I keep on running, I might die. But if I fight him back, I'm strong enough to just beat him. My shield here, my molten shield really helps. You can detonate it early to do damage, and then we're going to flash auto attack. Walk to the wave, we're up 2 already. You're going to take, for Rune's Grasp, you can take Aftershock. I actually like doing that in the jungle, but also Grasp is good in the jungle as well, just because of his passive, that's why. So we're going to take a plate here, but proxy the wave. You always want to do that because it's the best way to quickly get your minions to keep your minions alive and to quickly take plates. Because with your minions, you need them. You can't just auto attack a tower forever. So first things we buy is going to be Hull Breaker. Yeah. So normally you go Sunfire Cape, which is fine, or Sunfire Aegis. You can perfectly do that. I personally like building Hullbreaker and then Sunfire. Yeah, you are lacking on resistances a bit, but even the jungle, it's about mid 2 items is team fight time. So once you have the 2 early items, don't matter as much. So I like that. Hullbreaker is just such a good item on Sion. It gives you resistances when you're alone. It can help in the trade top, or even if you're playing a jungle, for example, it can help you trade as well. And there, it just really helps you. It's like a safeguard. The 20% pushing damage on towers is great, and it's just, honestly, even without those passives always being active, it's still a great item. It's not too expensive, and there's only like very few items that probably buy ahead of it. And it really depends. Like Triforce is great on Sion, but it's very situational. It's only if you have 1 or 2 other tanks, sorry, that you can afford to buy that. What do you call it? Black Cleaver is situational as well. I mean, if you're going against a guy that has a lot of armor, you can maybe take it, but I really wouldn't take Black Cleaver simply because its damage is a little bit lackluster, and so I'd rather take something that can give you more damage. And so here, sorry about that, I played off, but just basically we queued him. We're just gonna rush him down, auto attack. I didn't know he had ult, so we have to flash out here. Because if we don't flash out there, the tower will hit us, and so then that's gonna be a pain. We start taking the Herald, but Olaf comes up, so I was able to slow Olaf and just run away because I knew he was going to throw him as axe at me. So we're trying to predict what he's going to do first. That's one of the things you need to do when you're trying to get away or from a trade or something. Predict what the enemy's going to do. I knew he was going to throw the axe at me, so I had to slow him so I don't get slowed, and he does, and then he just slaps me. He could have chased me if he had ult, but I guess he didn't want to. The next item we built, as y'all saw on the mini screen, was the Sunfire, the Balmy Cinder. And that's going to help us amplify our damage. At this point, we're about 3-0, I think. Yeah, we're 3-0, and we're just waltzing through our lane. But I'm still keeping to the fundamental things, you know. I'm queuing the creeps, so they're taking those waves quickly. He can't farm if he's pushed in like this. He's a Gnosis. He can't farm that well because I'm right in his face. I'm right in his face. All he can do is just run and farm under tower, and that's exactly what my goal was. And he was dumb enough to actually trade with me. Here we ult him. He ults, and that happens. We slow and we get away. I mean, Nimbus Cloak is great, but our ult also gives us good speed. We're 4-0 at this point. And guess what I do? Well, I'm alone. Their jungler has to go mid. Gnosis is not gonna get here in time. And if he does, I'll kill him because he's so behind. So we're gonna take care of him.
Top turret is under attack.
They should have really came and rotated bot for me. I mean, you can see Gnosis starts rotating, but he should have fought that. Honestly, he should have, because we had no pressure mid. That's a mistake on him. But I guess he was a little too scared. Zed does come fight me, and so what I do is I stop attacking the Herald. I go for him. I Q, and then I'm auto attack it once more. I had to Q at that moment because I need to take him out here. I Q the short Q to slow him because he can shadow over my Q, counter me, and I can be in a bad spot. So we do that.
Double kill. Killing spree.
And so at this point we've got Hullbreaker, we've got Herald. Herald Hullbreaker is an excellent combination for pushing. You can definitely do this in the jungle as well if you play jungle Sion. But for top it's just perfect if your jungler can give you the Herald, or you can go get it like I did and just keep on just plowing through. That's what we're doing, we're just plowing through. Here, there's only one way to escape, that's Flash Ultimate.
Shut down.
And I'm able to get away, surprisingly. And I'm just gonna ult to base. So you can't stop Sion's ult. It's just like a supercharged, super damaged Dead Man's Plate. And so you can't stop that. So we get Sunfire. The next item we build is our Stone Plate to tank more. You can go other options like Protobelt. I was exploring Meteor is pretty cool if you Q with Sion, then pop the Meteor right in the middle of the zone. It does a ton of damage actually. I thought it was pretty cool. But Stone Plate is still really good. Remember, we're still a tank this game. We're not going no off tank build. We're just going a little bit damage, a little bit bruisery with the Hullbreaker. If you wanted just a tank build, you'd probably build the Sunfire first, maybe go an Iceborne or something like that. But I personally think that early damage on Sion really helps him scale through the game, and just build full tank after that. We're just going to keep on applying pressure. Jhin just walks into it. You're supposed to actually use your third ability, the slow, where you kick the minion and then Q. But in this case, we used it reverse because Jhin could have flashed out, and so we needed to slow him down somehow. Here, I should have gone for the Olaf. I went for the Zed instead. Couldn't quite catch him. I tried to throw the thing in his direction, but I hit Gnosis. And then I just used first ability, knock him off top, and just proxying the wave like that. Hit it, slow it, it's already low health, can't survive. Here, I first ability, I ult him, because they were right in position to just die. Really, they really put themselves in good positions, especially because the Ahri got the charm. So it was just perfect. At this point, I mean, this is just game over at this point for them. We're 6-0, and we're just gonna get tankier. We're just gonna get stronger. And Hullbreaker really improves that tower damage for us, so we're pushing faster. And if you take Demolish, it's actually really good on Sion top. Normally I play jungle, so I didn't take Demolish. I would take Nimbus Cloak, is probably his best second. just because you want to be able to make plays with Nimbus Cloak, right? So Demolish is great, I love it, but Nimbus Cloak also lets you make plays. Like if you're even playing Sion support, which is played in some cases, you flash, you use your face. It's the best gap closer you can have with flash, because just flash itself sometimes is not enough of a gap creator or a gap closer. You really need Nimbus Cloak, and that's why it's really good with Sion. Here we're just gonna chase down Gnosis. Pretty cute. Buster Shot and first ability, just knock up Buster Shot. We're just a menace. We're a complete tank. We're just a unit, man. I mean, we just farm so much because every minion you kill gives you health. I don't know how Zed missed that. So next build item we get is actually Dead Man's Plate. Depending on the matchup, you get Thornmail, but if their ADC isn't quite extremely fed or anything like that, I would get Dead Man's. Here, we just perfectly time that, and then All-Star perfectly knocks it up. I knock up before that, nothing they can do. They're just too squishy to survive that. Sion and All-Star is a disgusting combo if done properly, and it can really be strong. I was kind of debating on going in there just because I didn't know if I needed to go in and let All-Star knock him back. I was actually waiting for All-Star to knock him back, maybe you need to knock him up afterwards. But it didn't happen. Here we just kill him, push him. And we stay at a pretty good stalwart here for a while. We just keep on killing them and killing them. Here, Soraka gets charmed, I finish her off. Pretty simple. I'm a little afraid of Gnosis right here because he is probably strong enough to just kill me and kill me, or first ability me and kill me. Sorry because of the but first ability, we just run out of there with the shield, and that does enough damage. At this point the game's pretty much over. You know, they're just pushing. We finish off building part of the Thornmail. We don't completely build it, but yeah, the game's pretty much done. We're gonna get there and we're just gonna slam Zed. Boom. Dead. Too much damage. Slow this guy, slam him. Soraka's dead too. And that's basically Sion jungle. You just want to be, sorry, it's not Sion jungle, Sion top. You just want to be super aggressive depending on your matchup, or just passive and farm. There's no in between. So you don't want to be doing these mid type trades with Sion top. You either want to be in their face or you want to be passive. We can look at the charts. We did 20,000 damage, which is the second most on the team. It's insane. We tank a total of 6,000 damage. We were just his name is the Undead Juggernaut. We're a Juggernaut. We're just a unit. And let me go over the build real quick. So the build's gonna be Hullbreaker. Items you can trade for, probably Trinity Force, Black Cleaver, maybe Sterax Gauge. Sterax Gauge is a great item, son. I just never have, I'd say, a necessity of it, because Stoneplate gives you enough shielding in team fights. Sunfire is definitely the second item here. That's the core of the build. If you're really behind and you need resistances, you may want to skip the Hullbreaker, but I definitely would debate on that. It's just such a good item early game. And later on you could even sell it maybe, but early game is just so good. For particularly Sion, because of the scaling damage. For the 80 damage. The way his 80 scales, it scales a lot in the early game, kind of falls off, and your health starts doing a lot of damage, because you do health based damage as well. Stoneplate, and then you get Thornmail. These last items right here, the last 3 to 4, they're pretty situational to what's happening. If you're facing a lot of magic damage, you want to get Force of Nature, maybe Spirit Visage first. If you're facing a lot of ADC damage, Thornmail, Randuin's, Frozen Heart, I have it right there. I have Warmogs. I have Edge of Night here. It's situationally good, but I would probably not take it unless you're kind of fed. Probably take Spirit Visage in there. But I would probably go priority. I would probably get the Bramble Vest at least for this, because you do need the Grievous Wounds from the Thornmail effect. and then I would finish off the Deadman's Plate. Deadman's Plate's really good on Sion. I mean, if you can build Hullbreaker, Sunfire, Deadman's Plate, if you're that fed, and your team is doing pretty decent, to where you don't need a Thornmail, I would probably do that first. Normally in most team fights, you'll see you're going to need the Thornmail first, just for the extra armor. And then Deadman's, like I said, then the Force of Nature, and you probably close it up with that. Randuin's situational. Let's say they're doing a lot of crit damage and we're a little behind. We'd swap these two and build the Randuins. Iceborne is really good. I actually like to build it aside from Deadman's, I like Iceborne a lot. Although it's a little bit more expensive, so because of the Sheen item, so it is situational in that sense. Don't get me wrong, I really like Iceborne, and I think it's one of the best items on Sion, so it's definitely a possibility. There's many things you can go here. You can go Hullbreaker, Sunfire, Iceborne. You can go Hullbreaker, Thornmail, Iceborne. You can really experiment with Hullbreaker at your first item. You the problem is the Sunfire. I mean, you can build it later, but the earlier you get it, the more damage you're doing. Simple as that. But yeah, those are the kind of substitutions of the builds. There's not much in the physical realm, aside from maybe Cleaver, Triforce, Wit's End, and Maw. These 4. Okay, 5 with Dead Stance, but that's really anything in the physical area. Everything else is pretty... You're going a little bit trolly, or you're going a different type of build. Sunderer is horrible on Sion, actually. It's not very good. Just because your flat 80 is not strong enough. You really need the Hullbreaker 80, as it's one of the strongest 80 items in the game. As for flat 80, as you can see, everything is pretty much, unless you're building a full ADC or sub 80 carry type damage item, 55 is one of the highest. Like here, Stormrazor has 40, Chargeblade doesn't even have it. Edge of Knight's a second close, but this health and these stats is just, it's insane with Hullbreaker. Edge of Knight's cool, but Hullbreaker is really where it's at. I mean, 55 is actually, I think, maybe the highest aside from Infinity Edge and maybe Duskblade. Yeah, so you take it. I mean, it's the best damaging item in my opinion for a tank, and that's why we get it. So, and defensive subs, we're kind of over that. Abyssal Mask isn't bad in certain situations. Siege Jar isn't bad in certain situations, neither is Zerg's Convergence, but yeah. That's the build items, guys. Runes. So, as I said, Grasp is probably good for damage. I like Aftershock a lot, especially, I'm going to be experimenting with that. I have a little bit, it's really good for tankiness, especially if you build that Hullbreaker early. Weakness is probably what you want to go. You can go Triumph or Brutal. I think Weakness is the best. Once you impair them, they just take more damage. You definitely want to go Conditioning the second route. You can take Nullifying Orb if you want to trade a lot, but I would definitely take Conditioning in lane. Another thing in lane you could also take, you have a strong case for Triumph or Brutal, but I prefer Weakness for the team fights, because I just see Sion as more of a CC unit and a damage unit rather than a brawling unit, if you know what that means. As for the last rune, Pathfinder, you don't need it unless you're jungling, then you can make a case for it. You don't need any of these. Hunter Genius you can, but your abilities aren't very high cooldown, so it's not really worth it. And then Demolish is that most people go, and if you want to take Demolish and make a case for it, completely fine. You're completely fine to take Demolish. I just like Nimbus Cloak to make plays, especially if you have the Hullbreaker. You already have a decent amount of pushing power, but if you're just like, no, I'm not gonna make plays, I'm just gonna be a straight kind of like tank and I'll do whatever damage I can, Demolish is perfectly fine. So yeah. As for runes, Ignite, Flash is probably the best. You can go Exhaust and Flash. I'd probably go Ignite, Flash. And yeah, guys, that's the build. That's pretty much it. Not much else to it. It's a very strong Sion build. Sion's just really strong in the top lane, in the jungle. Even he can flex jungle and support situationally, but again, top lane's his best role. And he's just a unit. He does damage, as y'all saw. He's got a lot of health. One of the best champions in the game right now for top lane. And he's just, if you know how to use him with if your team knows how to play with you when you're playing Sion, you can really cause problems. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, subscribe. Any suggestions for the next one? Peace out.